Eala just won a tennis match without hitting the final shot herself, and somehow that has sparked more conversation than a straight sets blowout ever could. Scroll through the reactions from Cincinnati on Saturday and you'll find fans celebrating, sure, but also asking questions. What actually happened out there? Why did the match end in a walkover? And why, days later, has Elena-Gabriela Ruse still not said a word about it publicly? Let's slow down and walk through exactly what unfolded, because the Real story is more interesting than the scoreline alone. For Filipino tennis fans, an Eala match carries different stakes now than it did even a year ago. She used to be the promising teenager, the underdog nobody had to worry about just yet. That version of her is gone. At 21, she's sitting at a career-high world ranking of 20. She already has a maiden WTA Tour title to her name from Washington, and she walked into Cincinnati as the 17th seed at a WTA 1000 event, her highest seeding ever at this level. When you're the one being hunted instead of the one doing the hunting, every match gets studied a little more closely. And Saturday's match against Ruse gave fans plenty to study. To understand why this particular result carried extra weight, rewind to 2024. Eala and Ruse had met once before in the final round of US Open qualifying, and it didn't go Eala's way. She actually won the first set 6-3, only to watch Ruse fight back and take the next two, 1-6 and 4-6, to close out the match. That's not the kind of loss that fades quickly. It wasn't a blowout. It was a match that slipped through her fingers, and losses like that tend to leave a question mark that has to be answered eventually. Saturday in Cincinnati was the start of that answer. Ruse, ranked outside the world's top 70, had reached the second round by beating Magda, so this was never going to be an automatic win for Eala on paper. And early on, it didn't look like one. Ruse broke serve right out of the gate, and for a moment it seemed like history might repeat itself. Instead, Eala settled. She found her timing on serve, started dictating rallies from the baseline with those tricky left-handed angles, and reeled off 6 straight games to close out the first set 6-1. She carried that momentum into the second, breaking again to jump out to a 3-0 lead. This was a completely different player from the one who let a lead slip away 2 years earlier. Then the match stopped being about tennis at all. Midway through the second set, Ruse called for a medical timeout to have her right foot strapped up courtside. Shortly after, storm clouds rolled over the Lindner Family Tennis Center, lightning was spotted in the area, and tournament officials suspended play entirely, clearing the grounds with the match frozen at 6-1, 3-0 in Eala's favor. Play was expected to resume within the hour. It never did. When the moment came to head back out, Ruse made the call to retire from the match rather than continue on an injury that had already forced her to stop once. Here's where a lot of casual viewers get confused, and it's worth explaining plainly. In professional tennis, when a player retires mid-match due to injury, the match simply goes to their opponent. There's no panel review, no asterisk, no behind-the-scenes debate. It's the same rule that's applied at every level of the tour for decades. Eala advanced because Ruse could not continue, full stop. The scoreline reflects exactly where the match stood the moment it ended. Nothing more mysterious than that. What's genuinely still open is what comes next for Ruse. As of now, she hasn't given a public statement about the extent of the injury or how she's feeling about the way her tournament ended early. The WTA confirmed the retirement and wished her a fast recovery, and Eala herself, speaking afterward, said she didn't want to celebrate a match ending this way and wished Ruse a speedy recovery too. That silence from Ruse's side isn't evidence of anything dramatic. Athletes often take time before speaking after a physical setback, but it's understandable that fans are curious what she'll eventually say about the injury and about a rivalry that now sits level at 1 win apiece. Set the mystery aside for a second, because there was real substance in how Eala played before the rain ever interrupted things. Her lefty serve pulled Ruse into awkward angles all afternoon. Her return position sat aggressive and close, taking time away from second serves. And after that early break to open the match, there was no panic in her body language at all, just a steady, methodical climb back into control. Would that level of dominance have held up across a full 3 sets against a healthy, fighting Ruse? We'll never know for certain, and that's part of why this win, even in victory, feels a little unfinished to some fans. Eala has built a reputation as someone who likes closing matches out on her own racket, and a walkover, however lopsided the score, doesn't offer quite the same satisfaction. What this run does confirm, though, is the shape of the season Eala is putting together. She broke through with her first tour-level title in Washington, beating world number 3 Jessica Pegula in that final. She pushed deep into the Canadian Open before falling to former Olympic champion Belinda Bencic. And now she's sitting at a career-high ranking and seeding heading into the later rounds of a WTA 1000 event. Every result adds another layer to a story Filipino tennis fans have been waiting a long time to tell, because this isn't a promising junior anymore, and it isn't just a talented newcomer either. This is a young woman building the resume of a legitimate contender, tournament by tournament. That's why this result means so much to Filipino fans around the world, from kids picking up a racket for the first time to overseas workers catching highlights on their phones between shifts. Her success has become something communal, lived alongside her rather than just watched from a distance. But pride doesn't win the next match. Waiting in the third round is Amanda Anisimova, the American 9th seed and world number 10, fresh off a straight sets win over Zeynep Sonmez. This will be their first career meeting, no history to lean on, just two informed players meeting for the first time on a big stage. Anisimova brings power and a ranking built on consistent results against the tour's best. For Eala, this is a genuine step up in difficulty, the kind of opponent that will show whether Saturday's dominant start was real form or simply a favorable matchup cut short before it could be fully tested. So here's where this chapter leaves us. A statement-making start against Ruse, cut short by injury rather than anything Eala did wrong. A rival's silence fans are still watching closely. And a far tougher test now looming against a top 10 opponent who won't offer any shortcuts. This isn't the end of the story, it's the middle of one, with the next chapter set to be written on court against Amanda Anisimova. What do you think? Can Eala carry this momentum into a real top 10 test? Or does Anisimova prove to be the wall everyone expected eventually to show up in this draw? Drop your prediction below. And if you want to follow Eala through the rest of this season, like this video and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.